A high-profile company is making a personal push to end a life-shortening disease. Allie LaForce is a sideline reporter for CBS Sports and the Turner Networks for March Madness. Now, her husband is Joe Smith. He has pitched in more Major League games than any other active player. Their mission, to help families have babies born free of Huntington's disease. That's a hereditary illness that destroys the brain cells. CBS Saturday Morning co-host Dana Jacobson spoke with them about their work and their own struggles to have a child. This is such a personal story. Glad they're sharing.
Yeah, it is really amazing, and they've been very open. From the outside looking in, Allie and Joe's life to many may seem like a fairy tale. They are certainly a sports power couple. But after Joe's mom was diagnosed with Huntington's disease, they made the decision to only have kids through IVF to make sure that they do not pass on the disease. Then, in the midst of their own personal journey, they decided to focus on helping other couples as well.
This is the very beginning of our journey to make our first child together. We have 3 frozen embryos without Huntington's disease.
For over 3 years,
Woo! I did it!
Turner Sports sideline reporter Allie LaForce has been open and candid about her journey to have a baby.
Day 5 blood work.
Using social media to document the highs.
Bye, little friend.
And lows.
Today was one of the most emotional and really difficult days.
Including a miscarriage.
It's not fair if you only post the good and not the bad, because that's not real life. I just didn't feel right not sharing, because I don't want women to think that something's wrong with them when there's nothing wrong with them. We're all going through our own personal journey. We all have struggles.
The struggle for Allie and her husband Joe? To have a baby born without Huntington's disease, or HD, a genetic condition that causes the breakdown of nerve cells in the brain. Joe lost his grandmother to HD, and just 2 years ago, his mom, Lee.
Can you explain what that's like when you think about having a family, that this disease might be passed on?
Once you live with somebody that's had it, or somebody in your family has it, and you understand like how devastating this is, like you just watch people deteriorate within a couple years and do things that is not them.
I'm hungry.
It's like a demon takes over your mind. You know, one second you're happy, the next second you're slamming cabinets and yelling at your loved ones, and they take it out on the ones they love the most, which is the hardest. And then on top of that, they lose their ability to walk and speak and eat and swallow. It's the worst.
There is no cure for Huntington's, and kids of parents with the disease have a 50% chance of getting it. Joe decided not to test for the gene that causes HD.
Why did you decide not to get tested?
It's tough. There's no treatment. There's no cure. Like, what am I gonna do?
Take it easier each day.
One thing within their power, having an HD-free baby through an IVF procedure that implants embryos which test negative for that HD gene.
Not a single family should be held back from preventing their child from having Huntington's disease or even going through fertility treatments because money stands in the way.
It is the heart behind Joe and Allie's foundation, Help Cure HD, a nonprofit that helps pay for families to go through the IVF process, a procedure that can cost up to $40,000.
It's not just that your kids don't have Huntington's, their kids will never have Huntington's.
Yeah.
You're eliminating it from an entire family line forever,
Right.
which is eradicating a disease one family at a time.
In the U.S., there are roughly 41,000 people living with HD and more than 200,000 at risk. In just 4 years, Allie and Joe's foundation has helped 16 families have HD-free babies. Families like Tracy and Anthony DeLonzo's.
It was very exciting when we found out that Allie and Joe were doing that for us.
After having 2 kids naturally, Tracy tested positive for HD.
Do you think about, if symptoms did start soon, what that means for your family? Are you able to even process that?
I think about it, and it feels like a little bit of a cloud over you all the time, because you never know when something's gonna hit. The average age is 30 to 50 for symptoms, and I'm 33.
She knows what it most likely looked like for her, and That's really, really difficult to see.
Just always in the back of our mind. And then with any future kids, it was like a huge factor for us in having children too.
You rather would not have
Yeah.
kids than pass on this gene.
Right.
Then they discovered Help Cure HD. In 2020, they were accepted for a grant to cover the roughly $20,000 cost of having a baby. And in September, Josiah was born HD free.
He doesn't know it, but he's not going to have that worry in his life. He might have it for his family, but not for himself and not for his future family.
It's those success stories that fuel Allie and Joe.
With all these families that you talked about that you've helped, are these now friendships and bonds in a way with some of them at least?
We've gotten closer with some of them.
Bonds which they say help them stay motivated as they continue their own journey.
The man behind the needle.
One thing I struggle with is his happiness. I want him to be happy. When I know that we'll have kids without Huntington's disease, I know that if he died tomorrow, he would die in peace knowing that, period.
On March 9th, Allie and Joe got one step closer.
That's pregnant, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, woohoo!
Hey.
So they are pregnant right now. They're very early along now. Allie's only 6 weeks along right now. I just was texting with her yesterday. She's feeling good. And the reason she shares so early, because people normally don't, is what she said in the piece. You can't just share the good. This is a whole journey. And so she's taking people along on this, trying to raise awareness because it's so important to them. Their foundation, I do want to point out, is helpcurehd.org. There you can find out information about grants, if you're interested, if you have it in your family, and also fundraising, because they started this with their own money, but they need help. This is really an issue for people.
And that
It's
money
great
goes to
work what
such
you're
a
doing.
tremendous good use. I mean, these families have such a devastating illness, and to have a baby who doesn't have
Her words
know
of
that
saying
there's a way.
eradicating the disease from her family
right.
line, one pregnancy at a time, that is unbelievable.
A grandfather thanked them for doing that, for keeping his family line going, and he's never forgotten
Yes,
it.
thank you, Allie and Joe. I love when I said to Dana, do they have any children? Dana goes, keep watching.
Keep watching
Keep
him.
watching.
That happened a couple times.
Gayle, stop talking during the movie.
Dana, thank you very much.